Hi, and welcome to our final NFL or the Athletic NFL live roundtable of the postseason. We've been doing these for the last couple weeks, and now here we are, basically on the eve of Super Bowl 55. I'm Lindsay Jones. I'm a senior NFL writer at The Athletic, and I am on the ground in Tampa. As you can see, I'm in my lovely hotel room here. I just got back from the Roger Goodell State of the NFL press conference, also media availability with DeMaurice Smith from the NFL Players Association. So the NFL is starting to convene here in Tampa Bay. And I'm joined today by our Bucs beat writer, Greg Auman, who is also here in Tampa because he lives here. He's getting to cover a home Super Bowl. So he's joining us from his house. And then we've got live from Kansas City, we've got Nate Taylor, our Chiefs beat writer, who's going to be heading to Tampa tomorrow. Although it looks like you're already dressed for Florida. I see you're channeling Andy Reid there. What is that on your, are those flowers?
I see ducks.
Oh, we can't hear Nate.
Yeah, sorry, we got a little floral, we got a little palm tree action there. Some nice flamingos. I don't know if I'll see those this coming weekend, but you got to be in the right frame of mind. And this is clearly an homage to Andy Reid. And a very short story to start the 2019 campaign. Everybody in the beat writer section of the, who covers the Chiefs here in Kansas City, surprised Andy for the end of training camp. And this was the shirt I wore to sort of say that the NFL season started last year. So why not show it to our lovely subscribers, our lovely viewers, as we get ready to talk about a really fun game.
Well, I can't wait to see what Travis Kelce and company wear when they get on the plane. And we know last year when they flew to Miami, they all wore their Hawaiian shirts. So they'll probably have something in the works for their trip here, although they're not here. That's one of the craziest things about this week. So I flew into Tampa from Denver late Wednesday night, kind of have now been on the ground here for one day. And I will say it does not feel like a Super Bowl week. It is very different. Greg, can you live here, obviously, right. So you know what it's like all the time. Can you take us inside a little bit about what it's been like this week, both in Tampa and then maybe just being around the Bucs too?
Well, especially like downtown in the media center, it's still very much a ghost town. I mean, I'm in a media room. The media workroom has enough seats for like 50 writers, and there's 2 writers in my media room today. I think just people don't get in until later in the week. Radio Row, which is usually this terrible, bustling circus of a place, the whole week of the Super Bowl, they're guests going in and out. It's just so much going on. And Radio Row in Tampa right now is this like empty warehouse of a building. There's like 10 stations that are broadcasting. They're social distance, so they have the plexiglass dividers between them. It's a very different vibe. I have to think that it'll be a lot more lively Friday, Saturday, leading up to the game. Downtown Tampa has the NFL experience outdoors on the river here in Tampa, which is really cool. That's definitely where you kind of feel the game coming. It feels like the Super Bowl will be here in 3-4 days, seeing that more so than in the media center, at least.
I'm definitely going to go check that out on Friday. Today was a super busy day with like NFL reporting, but Friday I'm going to go check some of that out. I did go through the media center today and it was a ghost town. It was very, very odd, but let's get into this game. So both of these teams, they've been having media availabilities day after day after day. Those all wrapped up on Thursday. So let's bring Nate back in and let's go to Nate first. What's the most interesting thing you learned this week? I mean, you've been covering the Chiefs all year long, but tell me something that's new, like something interesting that you heard from whether it was a coach or a player. What was the best thing that happened on these Zooms this week?
Yeah, it honestly came from the coaching staff. Not Andy Reid. Andy Reid will give no secrets. He told us on multiple days, hey, we don't have any special plays for the Super Bowl. Why would you believe me? Just no, there's no special plays. But I do think, as I wrote in The Athletic yesterday, from the defensive side, I feel like the Chiefs are starting to tell you kind of what their game plan might be for Tom Brady. And it's going to be different from what they showed in Week 12, where they really blitzed him quite a bit, particularly on third downs early in that game. Now, Tom Brady, because he is a legendary quarterback, he's kind of seen it all. He had a really nice fourth quarter, led the Buccaneers to 2 touchdown drives to make the game pretty close there in the fourth quarter before Mahomes sort of sealed it with the possession there at the end of the game. But I feel like Steve Spagnuolo is essentially telling Tom Brady that what you will see on pre-snap will not be the same post-snap. So it's a matter of how well they'll disguise their looks, particularly in the secondary. And this alludes to really, I think, the best part of the defense right now. Tyrann Mathieu is obviously playing at a Hall of Fame level. He's moving all over the field, which is what confused Josh Allen for long stretches in the AFC Championship game. Juan Thornhill is coming off an ACL. He did not play in the Super Bowl. He did not play in the postseason, but he played his best game of the year, sort of being a fly-around safety who can move all over the place. And then you have L'Jarius Sneed, Travarius Ward, and Bashaud Breeland, top cornerbacks who can go against, a really talented Buccaneers offense. So whatever Tom Brady sees, whether it's a blitz, whether it's a disguise in coverage, whether it's a look that they maybe haven't shown all year, that's what's going to be the challenge for Brady when he gets to the line of scrimmage and starts to see where some of the pieces are for the Chiefs defense.
All right, let's bring Greg back in. Greg, what did you learn this week? What was maybe the most interesting thing that happened on the Bucs Zooms, maybe something that you hadn't heard before?
Tom Brady spoke Portuguese. That was the first for me.
Barely. I learned that's
barely.
His weakness.
Right. He pointed out his kids speak better Portuguese than he does, and that the phrase his wife Giselle uses around the house most often translates to "Daddy doesn't know anything." So good to see self-deprecating Brady the week before Super Bowl. What probably stood out most to me is not a surprise, but just how confident this Bucs defense continues to be, knowing they're facing a team that lit them up in the first half and the first quarter in Week 12. The last time they lost a game, Patrick Mahomes threw for 462. Tyreek Hill had 203 yards in the first quarter, and they're still talking and they're still confident, and nothing has backed off at all. So that'll be a fun one to watch on Sunday. It won't be for a lack of confidence from these young defensive backs for sure.
Well, look, they should be confident right now. And, Brady deserves a ton of praise, right? But the reason that the Bucs are here in the Super Bowl in their backyard is because of the way that defense played in the NFC Championship game and what they did to one of the best offenses in the NFL, in the Packers, the way that they got after Aaron Rodgers, and certainly the way that they covered those receivers, especially Devontae Adams. So, okay, Nate and Greg, I want you guys to kind of go back and forth here a little bit about some of these matchups that we're going to see between the Bucs defense and the Chiefs offense. What are they going to do? What are the Bucs going to do, Greg, to try to contain Tyreek Hill better than they did in this first meeting?
Two things. First of all, I think they're going to try and get to Mahomes better than they did the first time. I think the vulnerabilities on this Chiefs offensive line are something they can exploit. I do think the secondary will fare better. I don't think they're going to put Carlton Davis on an island with Tyreek Hill like they did for an entire quarter, only to change later. But they figured that offense out. Now, how much of that was the Chiefs kind of taking their foot off the gas? I don't know. Jamel Dean is healthy. He didn't play in Week 12. That's another talented corner that helps them with speed and size in the secondary. Vita Vea is in this game. He wasn't before, so I think that helps a lot with the middle of the pressure, kind of collapse in the front of the pocket with Mahomes. But again, it's a big challenge. They gave up 500 yards last time, so there's plenty of room for improvement.
All right, Nate, play offensive coordinator. What are you doing then to try to attack that? What would you do to try to attack that Bucs defense?
Yeah, Greg gives a lot of great points, and I'm sure that's what's being discussed between Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. I would say that the Chiefs may play a little bit of a different style in terms of just being more methodical than what they showed in that Week 12 matchup, where they were willing to see the Bucs single high safety, which, again, I never know why a team plays single high safety with Tyreek Hill, and they're willing to take the ball and say, hey, we're going to throw it over the top of the coverage. Now, I assume that, the Buccaneers are going to be a little bit more cautious and see if the Chiefs can go on these 12, 13, 14 play drives. And I think the player who can most benefit from such a strategy is Travis Kelce. I'm not sure if Devin White or anybody in a Buccaneers uniform can really do enough to prevent Travis Kelce from being open on the majority of his routes. And once you get Kelce going, the next thing is to help Mike Remmers, who I guess Jason Pierre-Paul just learned of, who will play left tackle in place of Eric Fisher. And Mike Remmers, the best way you can help out those backup tackles is a lot of jet sweeps with Tyreek Hill, a lot of end arounds with Mecole Hardman. That was a big play in the AFC Championship game. And look, there's a chance for Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell to be in the passing game from a screen standpoint, just to make the Buccaneers have to think for a second in terms of not pinning their ears back immediately and getting out of third and long situations. I know Patrick Mahomes is great at 3rd and 15, but you don't want to see it a ton come Sunday.
I'm pretty sure I was at a game in Denver where he converted like a 3rd and 30. I'm pretty sure I saw that happen. I'm not imagining that, right? That wasn't a fever dream. That happened. All right. So I want to do some maybe like superlatives. Let's get into some of these other players. So I want you guys to each pick me who's going to be the breakout star of this game. We know the big names: Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Mike Evans. So Greg, you go first. Give me kind of a breakout star, a guy that maybe we're not talking about yet, who matchup wise, something. What's your gut telling you? Who's a guy who could have a big game?
Yeah, I mean, the name that stands out to me, and I don't know how many people know him nationally, they should, but Devin White is a guy who's going to be in the middle of this defense, was missing at the start of the postseason, but his speed in the middle of the field is what helps them keep up with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which covers the middle of the field. He and Levante David are one of the better 1-2 inside linebacker duos in the NFL, and they need to show up on Sunday. That's where it starts for this defense. They'll have pressure in front of them. They'll have coverage behind them, but I think that's where it starts. And for them to have a big game, and Devin White's a guy they will blitz. He's got 9 sacks as an inside linebacker, and he needs to be somebody who gets to Mahomes as well.
All right, Nate, same question. Who's the breakout star going to be for the Chiefs?
In a lot of ways, it should be Clyde Edwards-Helaire. A lot of people, may have forgotten this a year ago, but quietly, if you look statistically, Damian Williams was a better player for long stretches of the Super Bowl, right? So I would say that there was a true balance last year. Even as they were trailing the 49ers, Damian Williams was both great running the football and catching the football. Can Clyde Edwards-Helaire have a similar performance where it's over 100 yards in the all-purpose category? And like I mentioned earlier, it really may come down to what Greg mentioned. Is Devin White going to make that open field tackle, or is Clyde Edwards-Helaire going to break free and get additional yards? Because if there's not all of the burden on Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs are truly explosive. And I think for Todd Bowles and a lot of what the Buccaneers want to do is you got to make the Chiefs one-dimensional and then hold on for dear life in the fourth quarter because Mahomes can still extend plays and make something happen. But if the Chiefs are balanced throughout this game, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire is getting good yardage on first down, it will be sort of a troubling experience for the Buccaneers just because you have to take something away. And it's just a matter of can they do it.
All right, I want to get more into this Chiefs offensive line matchup against the Bucs pass rushers. So this Chiefs offensive line does not look basically anything like the Super Bowl offensive line from last year. How many starters are the same that were starting in the Super Bowl last year? One?
Uno. It is Austin Ryder, and hey, he snapped the ball last year, and he's going to do it again this year. Everybody else is completely different.
So that's really interesting because one of the strengths of this Chiefs team and what we keep hearing, right, is run it back, run it back, run it back. That's what they've been saying since February, March. I mean, they've been saying that since the second they got home from Miami last year. We're going to run it back. And largely they've been able to do that. They gave Patrick Mahomes the massive contract. They re-signed Chris Jones. They gave Brett Veach and Andy Reid new contract extensions. They brought back Sammy Watkins. They've kept this team almost completely intact. The one place that is almost completely changed is the offensive line. Partially that was because of, obviously you lost guys. Laurent opted out because he's a frontline healthcare worker. But then they lost Mitchell Schwartz for most of the year because of a back injury. And then obviously losing Eric Fisher in the AFC Championship game to a torn Achilles. So Nate, kind of take me inside what is happening with this offensive line. What have you heard from them this week? Maybe what did you see when you got to watch a little bit of practice last week before it was closed? Yep. And how do you think they're going to handle Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul?
1, good luck, and 2, pray. And 3, thankfully Patrick Mahomes' big left toe is going to be 100% healthy going into this game. But you make a lot of great points in sort of framing this, Lindsay. People also have to remember, too, the Chiefs drafted Lucas Niang in the 3rd round of the draft, and he was going to be considered a backup tackle for either Eric Fisher or Mitchell Schwartz, and he also opted out because of the coronavirus pandemic that we're still, living under. But, Laurent Duvernay leaves because of, obviously opting out. The Chiefs lost, actually, Stephen Wisniewski to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He gets hurt in week 1. The Steelers release him, and so the Chiefs may actually use him to some degree on Sunday. But I think the lineup that you're probably going to see based on what we saw in the 4th quarter of the AFC Championship game, and I really don't think there's a ton of time to really change what is already in place based on the roles that guys already have. Obviously, Austin Ryder's going to be in the middle as the center. You're going to have Mike Remmers at left tackle. You're going to have Andrew Wiley slide from guard to tackle. And one of the real surprises is Nick Allegretti, this 7th-round pick last year, who's been really good, particularly in run blocking. And then maybe you have Wisniewski come in and play the other guard spot alongside Wiley. It's a real harrowing, heroic job that Andy Heck, the Chiefs offensive line coach, has done so far. And again, because of Mahomes' mobility, he does give those guys a chance to give themselves, that extra second or two to maybe make an adjustment to whatever the pass rush presents itself. But Mahomes is going to have to be at his best in terms of understanding his pocket presence, the timing that's in front of him, and then when he needs to make something happen, being willing and able to be that superstar that lifts the rest of his teammates.
So I covered Super Bowl 50 really closely because I live in Denver, so I was covering the Broncos. So I have very vivid memories of Mike Remmers playing in the Super Bowl and having a really, really tough day against the team that Shaq Barrett was on. He was not the starter in that game. But Greg, I know this is something that you were paying attention to this week. I know you were asking questions both to the Bucs players and to Chiefs players about it. What did you learn maybe about Mike Remmers and how the Bucs might choose to kind of attack him?
Yeah, Mike Remmers on his Zoom, and we talked to him. This was Tuesday, I guess. And I mean, just kind of said, I'm not the same player I was 5 years ago. Doesn't want to dwell on the past. This is a very similar situation where he's been thrust into a big role in a huge spotlight. What's crazy is that Shaq Barrett, who's one of the guys he's going up against now, was in that game in Denver 5 years ago and has very much modeled himself after Von Miller, has learned moves from Von Miller. So he's essentially facing the same kind of challenge. Jason Pierre-Paul kind of made headlines with the whole business where he said he didn't know who Mike Remmers was, didn't care who he was. And that's more JPP just being a really confident guy who literally doesn't care who he's going up against. He just focuses on himself. I think it was taken as something of a slight by Chiefs people. Remmers came back and said he doesn't care what Jason Pierre-Paul cares about. So there's indifference on both sides now. I think it's a key matchup. If you go back to Green Bay and the NFC Championship game, they were suddenly dealing without a starting tackle because Bakhtiari was out, and Shaq Barrett had 3 sacks, and Jason Pierre-Paul had 2 sacks. And that was a big part of why they were able to keep Aaron Rodgers in check.
Nate, do you have any follow-ups from what you know about Mike Remmers? I mean, I know he's really fun to watch. Like, he's really fun after the play. I mean, he's a guy that if we could have like a little Mike Remmers cam. What should we know about this guy?
Well, you have to remember that because of that experience in the Super Bowl, 5 years ago, Mike Remmers kind of had to reinvent himself. He played for multiple teams. Obviously, he left Carolina, had a chance to really work on himself, both at the guard position before sliding back to tackle. And one of the reasons why he wanted to join the Chiefs and why the Chiefs sort of pursued him in free agency was he had experience. He was understanding of what his role was going to be as a backup. And then look, because of the scenario that was placed in front of him, he's had majority of this season to play this year, right? There was an injury to Mitchell Schwartz in week 6, and he has not returned. Now, Mitchell Schwartz was clearly their best offensive lineman last year. He gave up 0 pressures in the postseason, which was amazing in and of itself. So not only is Mike Remmers already filling gigantic shoes in what Mitchell Schwartz has already done, now goes, Eric Fisher, who is a Pro Bowl left tackle. And now this is his chance to sort of prove all the work he's done, the fact that he is tough enough, both mentally and, still having the footwork necessary to slide on the outside against some of the best pass rushers in the league. If he has a successful day on Sunday, the Chiefs will win. There's no doubt about that just because of the rest of the talent that's around him. And this is why Mahomes is so historic in a lot of ways. I can't remember at any point in Mahomes' career where he didn't understand what the pass rush situation was and his offensive lineman failed him. That's how good he's been. There has never been a game where Patrick Mahomes has been terrible because his offensive lineman was terrible or he didn't understand who the primary pass rusher was on a certain pass set.
So Nate, you did already. Oh, sorry. Do you have something to add to that, Greg?
Hey, I have a Mike Remmers thing. Yeah. So Mike Remmers, I think he's on his 9th NFL team, which is amazing for a guy in the Super Bowl. He was in Tampa, actually. My first year in the beat was 13, and Mike was a practice squad guy that year. Never played for the Bucs, but was here for a full year. And I was trying to think of who Remmers has played at least 10 starts 6 years in a row. but he's done it with 4 different teams. And I was trying to think who else in the NFL changes teams but plays that much. And watching him in the Zoom on Wednesday, he's got this massive red beard. He's O-line Ryan Fitzpatrick is what he is, okay? Because he keeps changing teams, but he keeps finding ways to get on the field.
That's right.
Not a Harvard man, but that's my parallel. Is this guy, just persistence, has to change teams at least every 2 years, but gets on the field in incredibly important positions.
That's really fun. So I'm excited about that. I really like that.
Yeah.
I have to use that for later. So Nate, you already mentioned Patrick Mahomes' toe. So I want to get into a little bit of kind of like the newsy injury stuff going on. So who else do we need to be watching with the Chiefs injury-wise? Is it Sammy Watkins, L'Jarius Sneed, Patrick Mahomes? Take me through the injury report. Just get us all caught up on who's going to be available.
Yeah, the Chiefs are fortunate right now because they feel like anybody who's been on the injury report this week will play. So Patrick Mahomes, as his left big toe feels almost 100%. He should be what you would normally see him on, even maybe more mobile than what he was in the AFC Championship game. Le'Veon Bell's dealing with the knee injury. He's been limited all week, but he should play. The Chiefs are confident at this point that Sammy Watkins is going to give them legitimate snaps, not just a couple or as a decoy, somebody they can really use perhaps as a possession receiver next to Kelsey in the middle of the field. He's been, limited with a calf, but the Chiefs have sort of targeted this day for him, since he was chosen not to play in the AFC Championship game. So he has not played in the postseason, but Sammy Watkins, when he is on the field, makes the Chiefs a bit more dynamic. L'Jarius Sneed did come out of the concussion protocol. He's practiced all week. He should be ready to go. He's one of the bright young defensive rookies this year in the NFL. And I think for the offensive line, considering all the injuries that they have in place, Austin Ryder has been dealing with the knee injury all year. He is expected to play as well. So this is one of the benefits of having 2 weeks between the championship game and the Super Bowl. It gives you a lot of your guys back, gives them time to rest and heal up. So the Chiefs should be as fully capable as they are right now, despite not having either of their starting tackles.
All right, Greg, take us through the Bucs injury report. I know they've got a couple really important players are watching this week, some safeties, some wide receivers. Take me through their injury report.
Yeah, the biggest question mark is probably Jordan Whitehead, who's one of their starting safeties. Hurt his shoulder in a great play, was forced to fumble against the Packers. Huge play, but took him out of the game, didn't return. He has basically, it was a non-contact jersey on Wednesday, practiced more today. So he's really trending towards being able to play. But again, he's a hitter with a shoulder injury, so it's hard to know what they'll do there. Antoine Winfield is back. He'll be fine. Levante David had a hamstring that was a concern. He'll be fine. Bruce Arians said he would have to shoot him to keep him out of the game on Sunday.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, that's not good.
That seems like too much risking it for biscuits, I think.
That's right. Antonio Brown missed the NFC Championship game with a knee. It now looks like he'll be able to go. He was a full participant in practice today. He kind of, all he said Wednesday when we talked to him was that the arrow was pointing up, but it seems like he'll go. The only late arrival on the injury report, Cam Brate, who's their number 2 tight end and has had a really good postseason, popped up on the injury report today with a back injury. So we don't know if that's little or if that's big, but Cam Brate led the team in yardage against Washington, had a huge touchdown in the Green Bay game after a turnover. He's an important player for them. So if he's missing, their drop-off now that they don't have O.J. Howard either is pretty significant in terms of if they'd like to have 2 tight end sets, how experienced that second tight end opposite Rob Gronkowski is.
All right. So at the risk of stealing Nando DeFino's thunder, he's gonna be on this Zoom here in just a little while to take us through some of the betting. I want you guys, as the insiders of these teams, I want to go through some player props. And I have not prepped you for these.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to go over some over-unders, some player props. All right. So we'll start with you, Greg. Tom Brady passing yards. Over or under 300.5?
I'll say over on that. I expect a lot of offense from these 2 quarterbacks in this game. If you told me Mahomes and 300, I would take the over on that as well. I go into this writing about defenses all week, but picking a game like in the high 30s. So no, I take the over on that.
All right, now let's move, Nate. I'm going to give you Travis Kelce receiving yards. Over or under 97.5.
You don't even know the number. He's taking the over.
I could have told you it was like 240 and you were going to
165.
y'all could have said this at 250, and I still would have taken the over. I don't know what the Buccaneers do. I'm kind of scared for them if Mahomes and Kelsey have enough time to obviously connect from the offensive line. I just think this is a chance for him to really solidify, his claim to fame. Travis Kelsey, his claim that for a 3-year stretch, he was by far the best tight end. He can close that discussion here. Obviously, Rob Gronkowski, the prototype is across the field for him. So I think Mahomes wants to, obviously use Kelsey depending on what happened in the first matchup. And look, Andy Reid is always in these playoff games design plays for Travis Kelsey, particularly in the red zone. So if you're the Buccaneers, keep an eye on 87 the closer you get to the end zone.
All right, let's stay on the tight ends. Greg, Rob Gronkowski catches made over or under 2.5.
I'll take the over, which is crazy because I think he has 1 catch in his last 2 games. My favorite Gronk thing that I've been saying for 3 weeks and he hasn't gotten the end zone is that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are tied for the most postseason touchdowns together in NFL history. And it's Montana and Rice, which is really strong. Yeah. And it's like, I've said this, like, watch out for a Gronk. Gronk, nowhere near. Gronk hasn't been involved in the passing game, had 1 catch, nice catch for 29 yards against Green Bay, but has not been a part of their offensive plan at all. Maybe they're just holding it out for the Super Bowl because you want to break that record in a Super Bowl, of course. But every week I've said this, and every week he's been really good blocking.
Well, what I said this on the Athletic Football Show with Robert Mays earlier this week is I'm fully expecting that it's going to be like late in the third quarter, maybe even early in the fourth quarter, and we're just going to hear from Romo and Nance, where is Rob Gronkowski? And he hasn't had a single target in this game. And then all of a sudden, Brady's going to look for him on a crucial third down. It's going to go like 45 yards down the right sideline, move him into the red zone. So he might not have a lot of catches, but I would be shocked if he doesn't have at least 1 really impactment.
I can see a third catch.
You can see that third catch. All right, let's move into. Let's go into. I've got another one for you, Greg. Devin, you already mentioned Devin White.
Tackles, purple Gatorade.
Over or under what?
I said purple Gatorade.
Purple Gatorade. I haven't made it to that one yet, but
right.
I go orange. I'm gonna go orange. What's your color, Nate?
The Chiefs went orange last year in a very surprising stunner. I always like yellow because it shouldn't ever be yellow, but do your thing, guys.
The media center.
So Devin,
just to chime in, the media center only had Gatorade for the first 2 days, so I've had way more Gatorade than I normally have around the house. I just want to add that in. I've tried to mix it up among all the colors, but sorry.
Well, I hope you snagged some and brought it home to your sons. So.
I probably did.
Let's go tackles. Devin White over under 10.5.
He had like 15 in 1 game in this postseason. I'll say under. I'll say like he has 10, Levante has 9, just to be a little bit, just to take the under on something in this game.
All right, I like that. Let's go first reception for you, Nate. What's that Andy Reid script look like? Who do you think is most likely to have the first reception for the Chiefs?
I'm trying to visualize it now. It's a spread formation, maybe 4 wide receivers. Patrick understands what's available to him. I'm not telling the Bucs to run single high. Don't do that. Don't do that. But in one way, I wonder if there's a way for them in terms of the Chiefs, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, if there's a way to scheme something for McCole Hardman, right? He is the second fastest player on the Chiefs, and he is pretty close to Tyreek Hill in terms of top speed. So I'll remind fans what the first play was in Week 12. It was a Tyreek Hill from the right side coming across the formation, but behind Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the ball is hiked. It's a little bit of a show of like, hey, maybe this is RPO related. Hey, linebackers. Hey, cornerbacks. Hand the ball off. No, I'm not handing the ball off. It was a motion wheel route, which they had not shown much on film this year, and it was for an over 20-plus yard gain to Tyreek Hill, who ran from one side of the field across the formation and finished it with a wheel route. That is how much you have to do to cover Tyreek Hill. From the moment he breaks out of the huddle, you are just running sprints even before the ball is snapped. And that's one of the hardest things to do for an NFL defense is to watch Mahomes That's your job. But then all of a sudden, here comes the fastest dude in the league going right behind you because the play design is structured for you to feed in to the deception before you're beat over the top.
That was super in depth, and I'm here for it. Greg, first reception for the Bucs.
I like this because if we get it right, it looks so like, oh my God, he knows his team so well.
And to be fair, neither of you guys have been watching practice this week, so you have no inside information about what's happening.
He's like, Romo, if I had to pick a play, I'm gonna call a screen to Chris Godwin. They line up Mike Evans right next to him. Evans blocks, Godwin. I'm not sure it's even a first down, but it's their first play. I'll say Chris Godwin on a screen. I'll say for 9 yards if I had to call it exactly.
All right, I like that. I'm sifting through all of these here. We got a couple more of these game props here.
National anthem, take the over. There's 2 people singing.
Yeah, probably take the over. And I did see The Weeknd did his press conference today, which used to be like the best part of Super Bowl week. Super Bowl week was going to that press conference. I heard Beyonce sing the national anthem a cappella there a couple years ago. But apparently he's doing the show from in the stands. They're not doing the whole on-field setup. I'm sure it's COVID regulation.
And he has 26 minutes.
Yeah, that was wild. That was an interesting note in the Bucs pool report from Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times that Bruce Arians stopped practice for 26 minutes so that they could kind of have the realistic expectation of what the game was going to be. All right, before this will be the last kind of prop. This is not really a prop bet, but Super Bowl MVP, you cannot pick a quarterback.
Oh, man.
Travis Kelce, just the amount of targets, just the amount of receiving yards. If he has 2 or more touchdowns, I would say Travis Kelce. Quietly, a dark horse for the Chiefs is Tyrann Mathieu, right? Let's say he gets a sack, an interception, and maybe he recovers a fumble. Like he just has one of these, dream scenario postseason games for a defensive player. That would be my 2 selections, just because of the importance of who the players are, and they're going to be on the field for the majority of the snaps.
All right, Greg.
I want to go offense because it probably makes more sense. But the last time the Bucs won a Super Bowl, they had a defensive MVP. So there's no Dexter Jackson in this game. Don't get me wrong. But I'll pick Levante David as the Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I like that. Dexter Jackson is a sore spot for our former boss, Lisa Wilson. We did a one-hit wonders story this summer, and we had to make sure that he was on that list because he was one of the most unlikely Super Bowl MVPs ever.
Lisa asked me if I could do a Dexter Jackson. Where are they now? My wife's a middle school science teacher. She's taught 2 of Dexter Jackson's kids, and I still couldn't get him to call me back. 3. My wife says 3. 3 kids. Sorry.
Wow, that's
still
wild.
Couldn't
but
call me back.
Well, this is like a little inside athletic information here. Is anytime anybody in our staff needs a phone number, Greg almost always has it. But now here we know that.
It does you no good to have the number.
The one guy you can't get.
Having the number does you no good if they don't call you back.
That is true. That is true.
That is very, very true. So Greg, just before we kind of wrap this up and send it over to Nando and some really fun betting stuff from BetMGM, tell us a little bit more about what we should expect to see in Tampa this week. What's the stadium experience going to be like? What are some of the fun things that you've already seen around town? And how is Tampa maybe trying to make the best out of this very weird Super Bowl situation?
Yeah, this is a fun time in Tampa. Tampa's had a ridiculous 5 months here. You go back to September when the Bucs season started. Since then, Lightning win the Stanley Cup. The Rays go to the World Series. And now Tom Brady and the Bucs, again, you stop yourself when you say that. Tom Brady and the Bucs are playing a Super Bowl in their home field. So the stadium has been decked out for weeks. The Bucs have been able to watch it as they practice. It's in direct line of sight from their practice field to see this stadium all decked out. They took the player murals on each corner down. There's a gigantic Lombardi trophy just staring at them from practice every day. Yeah, it'll be neat. The pirate ship is still there. There's this big story in Tampa is that even though the Bucs are in their home stadium, they're not allowed to fire the cannons, which is just something that Bucs fans are very upset about because if they get to the 20, if they get to the red zone, they fire the cannons. If they score points, they fire the cannons. So all the NFL, because it is a neutral site, all the NFL is allowing them to do is play recorded cannon fire when they're introduced. And then in the event that they win the game, they are allowed to fire the cannons. So it'll sound like Raymond James Stadium. It's got the pirate ship in the end zone, 25,000 fans. They have 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers, which is an awesome thing to do, to invite them in. Every team was allowed to pick some to come in. So it'll be, again, not a capacity crowd, not what you expect of a Super Bowl to be, but still a really cool experience on Sunday.
I know Bucs fans were really into the cannons thing. It was the first question that I asked when I was writing something during the NFC Championship game, and the NFL didn't really have a good answer right now because I think they knew it was going to be a very sensitive situation. But it is wild. This 55 Super Bowls, and this is the first time that it's happened. I mean, it's hard to believe that Tom Brady is having any first in his career, and he's going to be part of this.
He said nothing but first. I mean, Tom Brady, in his first 9 Super Bowls, had a total of 3 road wins, and he's done that this year. He's never been a wild card, never played on the road in the opening weekend of the postseason. So yeah, I love that in year 21 of his career, he's like checking all this new stuff off the list.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I've covered, I think this is my 4th or 5th Super Bowl that I've covered that it has Tom Brady in it. It's been refreshing to have him separate from the Patriots way and to have a little, something a little bit different. Before we get to our final score predictions, I do want to ask you one more question, Nate. As having covered the Chiefs on site in Miami last year, I think one of the things that's missing having all this stuff be virtual is you can kind of by the end of the week get a sense for how the teams are. Like you could kind of tell by the end of last week that the Niners were kind of uptight. The Chiefs didn't feel that way. What's the sense you get out of the Chiefs, and how could you maybe compare them, how you feel about them right now than you did maybe when you saw them in Miami last year?
It was a Disney movie last year, is what I like to tell people a lot of times. I mean, they were this, wonderful story because they had the best young quarterback in the league and this, veteran, beloved coach throughout all of the league who had yet to win his first Super Bowl championship as a head coach. And they needed to come back every time, which is what they do in Disney movies. Hey, we're down 10 points with 7 minutes left. How are we going to make this work? And one thing leads to another. They just start scoring points in bunches, and you're just like, how did this happen? It was storybook and it was Disney-like because in Kansas City, my hometown, no one had seen this in over 50 years, right? You'd have to play Madden and go through the entire franchise mode to see confetti and some Chiefs person holding a championship trophy. So they had never seen it. It is completely different this year. I kind of wrote about that after the AFC Championship game, Lindsay, where Patrick Mahomes comes to the podium and his one message is the job's not finished. And that is so different from last year where they were just so happy to be there, so happy to break through, and to obviously were motivated to get Andy Reid his first, Super Bowl ring as a head coach. Now I get the sense of we've been through this before. This is super odd. Let's just get to Tampa. Like, can we just get on the plane fully healthy? And they have been road warriors all year. They're 8-0 on the road. They have been a really strong team when they know that there's something in front of them in terms of something new or indifferent to what they've seen before. And look, Mahomes knows Tom Brady. He understands all of the discussions about dynasty and legacy and how this may shape the narratives moving forward. I just see a team that is quietly ready to do the last step on this long, long journey that they put in front of themselves at the parade, right? Andy Reid said, we're coming back here and we're doing this again. And he didn't say it in a way that was like half tongue in cheek. He really meant it. Patrick Mahomes has believed it, and the guys have followed on alongside them. So I get the sense that this team knows it's been a long journey, and they don't want to say anything too crazy. They just want to let their play do the talking for their last cementing themselves in NFL history.
All right, so I get the sense that you're going to pick the Chiefs, right? So give me your score prediction.
I've been saying it all week, 31-26. I just don't know if that score is going to hold up if Tom Brady has the ball last. And that's the exciting thing. Who has the ball last? Because I just can't see this game being a blowout on either side. But the Chiefs have been the best team all year. And so it's hard to go against them. But if you're ever going to do it, Tom Brady, Bruce Arians, and a really young up-and-coming Bucs defense, this is a real challenge, and it will not be the same as it was in Week 12.
All right, Greg, what's your final score prediction?
Yeah, this has been tough for me because, again, I mean, they've beaten Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers on the road the last 2 weeks. So if you see that, it's not that crazy to beat Patrick Mahomes on your home field. I think this is a tight game. I think this is a fourth quarter game. I think we get lead changes. This is going to be a really good Super Bowl the way I see it. 2 quarterbacks absolutely throwing haymakers back and forth. I tend to think the only thing that makes me tip it a close game in the Bucs' favor is this question about the offensive line for the Chiefs and a vulnerability there that hasn't been there all season. So I like a high-scoring game. I'm going to say the Bucs have scored 30 or 31 points in all 3 playoff games. They're very precise that way, but I'll have them go a little bit more than that. I'm going to say 38-35, and Tom Brady and the Bucs pull it out.
All right, well, I don't need to spoil my daughter's picks. We're going to post that this weekend, but she picked the Bucs.
Oh, Lena!
We got Lena.
I was actually stunned because my sister-in-law lives in Kansas City, so she's been very partial to Kansas City just because that's where Aunt Allie lives. But that's going to post this weekend. You can hear her analysis, really good analysis from a 4-year-old this weekend.
She just likes the Brady Bear is what that means, right?
It's 100% what that means. And I've been on the search for a new Super Bear. They don't have the exact model yet. I haven't found it. So I'm keeping my eyes out. That's my goal over the next couple of days is to find the right Super Bear. I did my early prediction, I think right after the championship games. I picked the Chiefs 34-30 or 34-31. And I just hope we have a 3-point game. As somebody who doesn't have to file a 1,000-word game story at the buzzer anymore, give me that sort of exciting game. I mean, I'm still my heart still hurts from that Patriots-Rams Super Bowl. That was 7-3 or whatever it was. So give me all the points. Give me the cannon firing. Give me some confetti, some orange Gatorade. Any final thoughts before we let you guys go? And we can convene all in person at Raymond James Stadium in a couple days.
No, this is exciting. Glad you guys are going to be in Tampa for the Super Bowl. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm going to Tampa. Can't you see? I mean, it's a great time. Thanks for everybody that watches and follows along and subscribes and reads. It's been a blast. Who knew if we would get through this season, right?
We're here, man. We're here.
We may actually get to the finish line, and that is a true joy given all the things that have occurred between the last Super Bowl and Sunday.
Well, and speaking of everything fun that we've got going on here at the Athletic, we just launched our sports betting vertical. So right now coming up, we've got Nando DeFino with some really fun Super Bowl prop bets. Thank you guys so much and enjoy the Super Bowl.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nando DeFino, the managing editor for sports betting here at the Athletic, and I'm here with some props. Let's start with Gatorade. Everyone loves it. It's impossible to really determine unless you're like a psychopath and you go down and you check the Gatorade of the Kansas City Chiefs or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to run the odds across the bottom of the screen. Right now, the favorite's orange. I think because people assume that Kansas City's going to win this game, and they threw orange Gatorade on Andy Reid last year when they won. I don't know. It could be orange. Why not? If you think the Bucs are going to win, a very popular vote right now is red because both of the teams wear red. I actually don't know how the Gatorade is picked. We actually went through and tried to find a way to ask some team managers, some equipment managers. How do you pick the Gatorade? Do the players pick it? Does Patrick Mahomes prefer a flavor and, kind of not a diva about it, but does he get some kind of say, maybe he likes blue. And so maybe they're blue. And so maybe the one they dump on the coach is blue because they're all blue. If that is the case, not bad. Last year, purple was a big deal because of the passing of Kobe Bryant. A lot of people thought it might have been a tribute. It's now plus 800, so not as popular as it was last year. If you're like me, you're just like the lime, which I consider yellow, some consider green. Plus 500, not a bad one to pick. Next one we have is Rob Gronkowski's catches, his total receptions for the game, which I find super interesting because it's not just your old Patriots of 5 years ago with Brady and Gronk. This is a Tampa Bay team where Gronk's catches have been kind of all over the place. Historically, in the Super Bowl, Brady's leaned on Gronk a lot. We have a column up right now. Samantha Praviti from the New York Post pointed out that Gronk caught 6 passes in Super Bowl 2019 and 9 in Super Bowl 2018. Just to give her full props, that's Samantha NFL on Twitter. She's brilliant, and she was a roundtable participant. But Rob Gronkowski's involvement here, maybe he'll catch a touchdown. I don't know how many, he's blocked a lot. He's been in different game plans. Cameron Brate's been involved in the offense. Rob Gronkowski at maybe 2, which is the favorite, is plus 240. I mean, everything's plus money, so you can give it a shot, but spread your money around wisely if so. I don't think he's going to catch 0 passes. I don't think he's going to catch 5 or more. I could see him catching 2 or 3, which is still, if you put $10 down, you get 24 back or 32.50 back. So not the worst odds in the world. Finally, the national anthem. 159 is the hypothetical odds that BetMGM gave us for this one. The over-under is going to be interesting because it might be a duet. It might be an accompaniment. We don't really know. But Matt Fortuna actually went out, one of our writers here, and talked to producers, singers. We got a musicologist who we talked to try and find out exactly how this arrangement's going to go, how they would perform it, what's different about the Super Bowl, the big stage. I believe the last 3 have gone under, but with 2 people doing this for the first time since, I think, I can't remember. It was Aaron Neville and someone. It was a while ago, but it doesn't happen very often. No one really has an exact idea of what to expect, how it's going to go, how they're going to play off each other. I'm not touching it, but you can. Check out BetMGM. You get a $600 risk-free bet offer as part of our partnership with them. They're wonderful people. It's a lovely site. And enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Good luck with your props.